Hello my friends and the two people who forgot to unsubscribe. Welcome to my obligatory, pretentious, and pessimistic Destiny 2 video. Why obligatory, you say? Well, long story short, over the past 3 years I've been in a love-hate relationship with Destiny and I can't escape it. Help me. While being held at gunpoint isn't fun, games sure are. They've got so many elements, but what makes them so special for me are all the experiences you can have in them. I mean, that's what made Destiny so amazing. I just have so many great memories in Destiny, like the exotics, the raids, and all the friends I've met over the past 3 years of my life that make it so hard to keep Destiny away from at least my top 3 games of all time.
Get him! Get him! Oh, we have to get him?
Yes! Yes!
Yes! Yes!
Oh my god!
But at the same time, it really depends on my mood. When I think back to all the good times I've had in games, most of them are thanks to Destiny. But I can't ignore the fact that there are so many games out there that are just plain better, Destiny 2 being one of them. Destiny is currently my favorite game of all time, and Destiny 2 is definitely better, but do I like it better? I don't know. Can I just say Overwatch and make everyone happy?
Yeah! Boy,
Yes! How on earth did we do that?
Yes!
It's kind of like Dark Souls.
Here we go.
Dark Souls 1 may be incredibly flawed, but I have so much more of an emotional connection to it than Dark Souls 3, even though I like Dark Souls 3 so much more. Same with Journey and Abzû. Abzû is just a constantly enjoyable joyride through some beautiful areas, and while Journey may not be fun the whole way through, that's the point, and it's the contrast between moments like this and this that make it so incredibly emotional. So, what's more important, fun or experience? Well, like I said, it depends on your mood, and it really is hard to say for sure, but taking into account both the fun and the experience, is Destiny 2 a good game? Well, if you compare it to Destiny 1 at launch, then yeah. It still looks good, sounds good, has solid gameplay, improves upon the elements that Destiny 1 struggled with, some of those being story, mission design, exploration, and world building. I've played so many games this year, so many truly amazing games that do each of these elements way better than Destiny 2. You want good exploration? Play Breath of the Wild. You want good world building and story? Play Horizon. You want good mission design? Play Titanfall 2, or literally any Souls game. Almost any Souls game. Hell, even Destiny 1 does some of these better than Destiny 2. But Destiny 1 has had 3 years to improve on its horrendous launch date. From the beginning, it's tried to focus on so many things that it's never had enough time to make any of them good. And while it's slowly improving each of these elements, they're still not great. And it sucks to say it because I knew exactly what to expect from Destiny 2. Or at least I thought I did. That being Destiny 1, but a little bit better. But what I got was something that slightly improved upon the faults of Destiny 1, and maintained what made it so good, but forgot what made it so special. At the end of the credits, Bungie says, "I hope we made you proud." But if they wanted to do that, they should have actually kept what made people stick around with Destiny 1, instead of trying to change it so drastically just to appeal to the people that thought Destiny 1 was too complicated, annoying, and inconvenient. Destiny 2 was made for the people who thought vanilla Destiny was garbage, and then never played it again. That's why they made it separate, to show that this is a fresh start, and that they've improved. But the suckers like me who stuck around after launch already saw that Destiny got much better with the release of its 3rd expansion, The Taken King, 1 year after its launch.
Oh, it looks so cool.
And while the content in the game's next big expansion, Rise of Iron, wasn't as good, the endgame and the systems in the game overall improved a lot, especially with all the free updates that have released since. With all these updates, Destiny 1 is actually really good in its current state, and thanks to the longevity of its endgame, it had the staying power to keep people playing for 3 years. But instead of sticking with this foundation and adding to it, what seems to have happened is the developers of The Taken King left to go make Destiny 2, while the remaining employees at Bungie made Rise of Iron and all of its accompanying updates, which is shown by the Taken King developers disappearing from the developer videos for Rise of Iron, but then magically showing up again to promote Destiny 2.
Gets down in crouch pose and then
blasts out, lightning strikes him, he becomes infused with that energy, and now you're just roaming the map like an electric god. It's just a little bit more...
And the result of this is that the foundational improvements made to Destiny 1 post-Taken King are just outright missing in Destiny 2. And the only logical reasoning behind this decision is that by making a new, separate sequel, they could attract the people who wouldn't normally care about some random expansion. But now we're left with a game that's enjoyable to get through, but once you're done, you're done. It's not like Destiny 1 where it was designed in such a way that could be infinitely played. Destiny 2 was designed to be completed and then put down. There's basically no endgame. It's still fun, but it's just forgettable. In Destiny 2, you beat the main campaign, do some side activities, level up, do the raid, and then you're done.
Look at my cool fucking jockstrap that I just got. Great jockstrap. Coolio.
I want to see your jockstrap.
Dude,
Ooh, CharChar
Nice.
fancy.
My
How
bod,
elegant.
dude.
Fucking done,
Dude,
Dude, at
is
least
that
you have a
Urban
gun.
Outfitters fanny pack, man?
Yeah, he's...
It's pretty
Dude,
sick,
I got the
dude.
fanny pack of the God Killer.
Dude,
Yo,
look
you
at
guys,
the-
you guys
dude,
know,
look at this
you guys
nigga
know what I've been
face.
waiting for?
Dude,
You guys know what
picture.
I've been waiting for?
Picture
You know
time.
You can see
what
the
it
raid
said?
sword.
No, this.
Oh.
In Destiny 1, that was just the beginning, and the reason why these people didn't like Destiny 1, but did like Destiny 2, is because all they needed was the beginning. All they needed was a game. But when it comes to Destiny, I expect something else. I expect to beat it knowing that I've just opened up a world of endless activities, the kind of activities that are fun, unique, and challenging, and give me memories that can last a lifetime. I expect an experience.
Alright, is this time?
Where is he?
He's in the middle.
Yeah. This is
Tether.
time for the alts. No longer. Oh my god. Yo,
Oh, he's
yo.
dead right here, fam. He's dead right here.
Yes!
Yeah!
Yes,
Dude, when
dude.
we all popped those alts, that was so
Yo,
rad.
that was so dope.
That was
was
so awesome,
radical.
guys.
When you start up Destiny 2, you're greeted by a slideshow of all the things you did in Destiny 1 if you played it. It was so great seeing all those little drawings accompanied by the musical cues and all those randoms I beat the raids with. After all that reminiscing, everything that you loved in Destiny 1 gets taken away by this guy named Ghaul in the first mission, where you get to see Cade, Zavala, Ikora, and my baby, Lord Shaxx.
I'll take care of these people. If the Cabal want war, give them war.
And the tower you spent the last 3 years falling off of finally falls itself. You somehow survive being kicked off of a spaceship. Don't worry about it. And when you wake up a few days later in the rubble of the city, you stumble through it in the coolest story moment that Destiny has ever had. Seriously, what's its competition? The music, the atmosphere, and Nolan North's voice acting as your ghost all set the tone really well.
I'm picking up an emergency broadcast. Rendezvous coordinates. They're evacuating the planet. We're on our own.
You actually feel vulnerable when you try to fight without your light, and it's cool that they do this because this isn't something that you'd be able to experience in a book or a movie in the same way that you can play it in a game. You run into a character named Hawthorne who's setting up a shelter for people to escape to after the loss of the city. It's actually really interesting, and the game has this tangible atmosphere and tone to it during this section, with the music in the farm, getting your ship, helping Hawthorne set up shop, and going to get your powers back. It made the intro to the game feel real, and kinda like an MMO, surprisingly enough. I felt so ready for what was ahead of me, imagining a more grounded story where you have to face the reality that the city is gone and instead focus on simply trying to survive.
Eyes out, Guardian.
Expectations for Bungie? I should know better at this point. You get 2 cool missions and that's it. Now we have to go back to doing the usual repetitive Destiny missions. You do a mission with a stereotypical British guy who walks you through each of the possible side quest archetypes. And then you help Hawthorne get some radio signal in another mission, which turns out to be Zavala telling all Guardians to group up on Titan. And since Bungie has ADD and can never focus on one thing, now we have to save the city, because we all really care about the people in there. I don't care about a single character in Destiny 1. Not just because they never, ever fight along your side, but also because they just have no personality. People say they like Cade, but that's just because he actually has a personality. He seems lame compared to Failsafe and Hawthorne, in my opinion. I think Bungie could have used this to their advantage and killed everyone from Destiny 1. It would have made Ghaul seem actually intimidating and make the story seem somewhat real and important and, you know, a story. I should just give up on Destiny ever feeling real at this point. It just sucks because the areas look so cool, but they all feel so fake and so shallow. There are no characters running around the worlds, no wildlife, no storytelling, they just feel barren. The reason Horizon's open world felt so real is because there are so many settlements with characters to talk to, plants and animals to fill up the empty space, and so much storytelling that explain the history of the world. That was the biggest one. Uncovering the secret past of Earth made Horizon feel more real than any area in any game I've ever played. On Nessus, when you learn about how the Exodus Black's crew all crashed and died there, it feels real for a bit, like you're in a place with history. But then you forget about it and it goes back to just being pretty on the outside. I think the reason Nessus stopped feeling real after that quest, while Horizon kept feeling real, is because Horizon has so many examples of quests like the one about the dead ship crew on Nessus. Like each of the tribes and their purposes and motivations, and the stories of the creation of the Pharaoh robots. You're constantly reminded of these stories thanks to the presence of landmarks like the ruins of present day, the Pharaoh headquarters, Hades, Gaia, and all of the technological locations and creatures. There are so many examples of environmental storytelling in Horizon, and the story and the setting and the gameplay all weave together so smoothly that the game won't let you remember that it's a game. The world in Destiny not only feels artificial atmospherically, but also in the way it presents its quests. It's just so formulaic and bland. There are adventures, which are essentially side quests except with no interesting story whatsoever. And with most of the objectives being shoot this, or stand here and shoot this, I felt like I was the victim of some kind of cruel joke, like all these adventures were just made to make me suffer. I will give some credit to the ones that have their own unique mechanics, even though those mechanics are usually just kill specific enemy to make the other specific enemy not immune to damage anymore, or carry an orb and bring it somewhere. Bungie loves that one. Then there are lost sectors, which I thought would be like dungeons in Skyrim, but they're unsurprisingly significantly less interesting. There's never any puzzles or any complicated maze-like level design. It's always just a path to a room with some enemies and a boss, which is always just a bigger version of an existing enemy type. Besides raids, I don't think a single boss in Destiny's history has ever broken that trend. Hell, even the raids usually just have giant versions of normal enemies as bosses. Lost sectors are also a perfect example of how the worlds feel fake in Destiny. In Skyrim, you would find books and specific item placements, or maybe even, get this, interesting characters to talk to. Like, what if there were some letters in a dead body you could scan here, and your ghost could tell you about how the oceans got the platforms on Titan so wet that they need floor signs everywhere, but the signs got in the way of everything, and a mob of angry people locked the guy putting the signs everywhere into this room and beat him to death with all the floor signs. And then your ghost could say something stupid like, "That sounds like an honorable way to die." All stupid ideas aside. Wait, hold up. Enough of this self-deprecation. Fuck you, Bungie. I just came up with that as a joke, and it's still better than any of the stupid-ass side quests you've ever made. Destiny 1 got a pass in my eyes for sucking because it had so many problems throughout its production. But Destiny 2 hasn't even had those problems, and it's still so painfully average? What happened, Bungie? Then there's patrols, which are an exact copy and paste of the boring objectives from Destiny 1, where you could do such exhilarating activities as kill dudes, or kill one specific dude. Again, this is so thrilling that I think I might fall asleep. Could probably dream of a better game. Then there are also world quests, which are basically just longer adventures. One of them was cool, that one being the one on Nessus where you're trying to help Failsafe find her crashed ship's crew.
Seems like you met my new friends, Failsafe and her evil twin, Failsafe.
Which is the evil one?
If I had feelings, they would be hurt.
It's actually a really cool quest, even if it is padded out by some combat sections. All the other quests are just neat concepts that don't go anywhere, which is a common theme throughout the entire game. The Taken and Vex are working together on Io, Fallen are being corrupted by glowing goo in the EDZ, and there's a war on Titan between the Fallen and the Hive. There is one cool moment where you have to choose between killing a knight or a captain.
Do we like the Hive or Fallen better? I think that captain just gave us the reactor.
That's it. Then there's public events, which are actually really awesome, and are probably my favorite part of Destiny 2. They were a cool concept in Destiny 1, and now they've been elevated to being... Sorry, all I've been doing for the past month is playing Destiny. I forgot the word I'm trying to think of. Oh yeah, fun! There's a bunch of different types of public events, each with a specific action you could do to trigger the heroic public event. Say, for example, you destroy the Cabal spaceship as it flies by, or shoot the fallen mining equipment things. This activates the heroic event for that specific public event, making the event more difficult, but allowing you a chance for some better loot, including an exotic engram that'll just give you another sunshot. I really enjoyed my time with the public events in Destiny 2, and I hope it's one of the things that they focus heavily on in the expansions. I've already said that Destiny tries to be good at too many things, but if public events were one of the few things it tried to be really good at, I'd be a happy boy. Could you imagine if Destiny 2 was just public events the game? Oh my god, it would be glorious. Hundreds of public events with each of their heroic modes having raid-like mechanics, and then there's like 50 people all working together on one public event. Oh, and there could be world bosses that actually look unique and have their own unique abilities and mechanics. But instead we get a mediocre story with mediocre exploration and mediocre loot and mediocre mission design and fuck, even a mediocre raid. I can't think of a single game that has as many different things to do as Destiny. There's PvP, story, strikes, raids, side quests, RPG and loot elements, supers and abilities, vehicles, platforming, MMO elements, exploration. And the exploration has treasure maps that you can buy from Cade that lead you to chests, materials to collect and return to vendors, region chests that spawn around the world, mini-bosses that randomly spawn drop a chest when killed, objects that give you a bit of lore when scanned, small battles between enemies, fleets of fallen bikers or Cabal tanks that can spawn in, side quests, world quests, lost sectors, patrols, public events. Jesus, I could go on forever! If they just focused on a few things, they could be so good. Forget the story, you're not good at making it, so please just stop wasting effort making it just to waste my time playing it. The only thing that keeps me from wanting to blast my own head off when playing this game is that blasting other people's heads off is so goddamn fun. The sound effects, the particles, the animation, everything comes together to make it feel so good to just fucking kill everybody. I'm stable, okay? The combination of abilities, supers, jumping, grenades, melees, and all the awesome and satisfying weapons made Destiny feel so good to play, and Destiny 2 does it all even better. While the exotics may have lame perks, they each feel so good to use. Even when there's nothing left to do, it's still just so fun and addicting to load up your favorite planet and just mindlessly do public events, because Destiny 2 just feels so good to play, especially when there's a bunch of other players nearby. But the gameplay has never been the problem with Destiny. The problem was the story. After you meet Zavala on Titan, you do what essentially boils down to chores. Fixing machinery, cleaning stuff up, and killing a bunch of dudes. That's what my mom makes me do. At least there's some fun platforming, I guess.
We'll be outside the city gates in no time.
If it were only that simple.
Without the light, are we even guardians anymore?
Character development? Oh, sorry, false alarm. They have to show us 15 other characters instead of just giving us one good character because Destiny values quantity over quality. But, I mean, yeah, man, I don't feel like a Guardian either. You get a free exotic armor piece from character number 6472. And then you go to Nessus to find Cade because Zavala needs his fire team. You meet Failsafe, she has a few funny lines.
Hello, you must be Cade's friend. I am Failsafe. I am so glad to meet you in person. I know you are going to Io. Should you return, I will be happy to assist you in researching the Vex. We could steal their stuff. That was a joke. Stealing is wrong. Usually, but the Vex are alien robot monsters. Standard moral parameters do not apply. It's not murder if it's robots. Please come visit me again. Everyone I've ever known is dead, and their bones are dust. I am very lonely.
Meet Cade, he has a few lines.
Then maybe eat a sandwich.
Somehow the missions on Nessus managed to be even more forgettable and repetitive than the ones on Titan. You save Cade, and then he says that Ikora is on Io.
But after all these years dying, being reborn, dying again, the Traveler has left me with one life, and I am afraid to lose it.
Character development? Oh, ha! Just kidding. Here's some more characters. This one's unique. His defining attribute is he's irritating. Ah! But it's okay, because there's more repetitive missions. This one's objective is to kill guys. It's actually depressing, because the only thing that defines any of them are their visuals. I mean, they do look good, but that's it. Here's the one that's inside of the Taking Tornado thing. Here's the one inside of the Warmind facility. It's basically impossible to describe them in any other way. The reason it's so depressing is because the Taken King did mission designs so well. There was a platforming mission, a stealth mission, an escape mission where you had to look for the keys to get out, an exploration mission with actual atmosphere, and thanks to the lack of objective markers, a possibility of getting lost and actually exploring. After finding all three of the Vanguard, they have a meeting at the farm, and then you do some more missions on Earth. This time you're attacking the Cabal base, and some of these missions are actually kind of cool. There's an alright tank mission, then a generic kill-specific guy mission. Then you attack the Almighty. Oh, by the way, Ghaul has some big Death Star weapon thing, don't worry about it. This mission is my favorite. You have to hijack a Cabal ship, sneak onto the Almighty, hide from the heat of the sun, use the tank to blow up the vents, become the laser, blow up the Almighty, and escape to your ship as it explodes. It's so cool. It reminds me of a lot of the types of missions that the Taken King had. Throughout the story, there's a few cutscenes with Ghaul and his buddy, which reminded me of Gru and Dr. Nefario, oddly enough. Ghaul doesn't want to be the usual bad guy and take the light. He wants to honorably earn it, while his buddy, the Council, wants to take the light from the Traveler no matter the method. It's actually kind of cool because the Cabal are known to just blow up anything in their way. But Ghaul wants to be different. He was cast away by the Cabal, and the Council took Ghaul in to use him as a way of getting revenge on the main society of the Cabal. For something. They mentioned some greed and corruption, but we never really get to know what actually happened. Add that to the list. These cutscenes are spread out throughout the story, and by the end, Ghaul realizes that he can't actually earn the light because, well, I don't know. We still don't know anything about the Traveler, sadly. And there really is no excuse because the speaker is sitting right there, or hanging. He's gotta know something, right?
So, feel free to kill yourself.
So the Council gets pissed and kills the speaker, I think. Then Ghaul kills the Council and just gives up and takes the light anyways? Okay. Then in the last mission, you raid the city with an army of other players, do some platforming on the tops of buildings, and kill Ghaul in a pretty cool boss battle. Then Ghaul comes back to life for a few seconds just to have the Traveler explode and kill him. Okay. At least the mission was kinda cool, compared to the rest. Now all that's left in the game are some shallow milestones, which are basically like the quest system from the Taken King, if it was boring and shallow and not cool at all. I can understand why strike scoring, private matches, record books, the Daybreak modifier, daily heroic missions, weekly heroic strike playlists, and raid challenge modes and ornaments aren't in Destiny 2, because they were added to Destiny 1 while Destiny 2 was in development, presumably. Doesn't make it any less stupid, but at least I can understand why it happened. But why on earth would they scrap the quest system? It was one of the best additions to the game. Well, what are these milestones anyways? Do the Nightfall, do some Crucible, do some strikes. What? What happened to exploring the Vault of Glass and uncovering a group of Guardians who, since the Vault operates on its own timeline, were entirely erased from history because they died in there, accompanied by a fun boss battle with a cool mechanic? Or the quest to get Touch of Malice with finding all those collectibles and doing that one mission that set a new bar for boss battle design in Destiny that hasn't been reached since, with the exception of raids. Or the Sleeper Simulant quest, where you had to look at the patterns of taken and normal nights in the mission, with each type indicating either an up or down panel in the codes. Or the Outbreak Prime quest, where you had to find 2 monitors in a maze, each having 4 numbers on them, with one monitor indicating the x-axis and one indicating the y-axis, and then convert those 4 numbers on each monitor from binary to decimal code, with each translated code revealing the XY coordinates for one person to stand on the coordinate plane of pillars, and then repeating for each of the 4 quadrants just to activate one of the 5 monitors hidden in the raid that let you start the quest. Or the Black Spindle and No Time to Explain quests, which were both hidden sections of daily heroic missions, each of which were new and interesting and challenging. But the most memorable quest in Destiny 2 is the Rat King quest, which asks you to beat the Nightfall with 5 minutes left on the timer. Oh my god. So if the quest objective is boring, does the quality of strikes make up for it? Not really. But it did still feel amazing to actually pull it off.
Focus on him.
I am.
What?
Charlie.
Yes!
Yes!
Let's go!
Charlie!
Let's go!
I love you so much, Charlie!
Now you love the sweet business. You love the sweet business.
Dude.
I love your sweet business.
Those are the types of moments that Destiny 2 needed so much more of. The only 2 memorable experiences I got out of Destiny 2 were the Rat King quest and the raid. Hell, even being the raid felt anticlimactic.
Get him.
Shoot him!
Oh, we win. We fucking win. Good job, guys. I love all of you.
Come on, man.
Yes!
Yo, hell.
Creating experiences for yourself is one of the things that games do that movies, books, and TV shows can't. Sure, there are games that look amazing, have great soundtracks, or really good stories, but movies and TV shows can do all those things too. But you're not going to look back on a fond memory you had in a movie theater, at least not because of anything the movie did. But in a game, you have control and can have experiences that nothing else can provide. That's why I love the original Destiny so much, because it felt like what a game should strive to be. Not a book or a movie or a TV show, but an experience. And if my rant earlier about experiences in games seemed pretentious and close-minded, hopefully now you can understand why I think these types of moments are so important.
Whatever, yes.
Wait, who's got left?
I got
Oh,
left,
whatever.
Beck has left. Get him?
He's middle. This is it, guys. This is
mid,
it.
he's mid.
Oh, this is it?
Someone tether? Someone tether.
I don't have one. Okay.
Alright.
Shoot him!
Alright guys, come on, get him. Come on, boys.
Come on, please.
Yes!
Yes! Boys!
Oh my god.
Boys, let's go!
Yes.
Hey guys, we have a dance off. Dance off to the death. Who's gonna lose? Not me, cause I'm gonna win. Ba-da-da-da-ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-ba-da-da. Hey, you're very good. How did you learn that move?
I'm trying to snap my neck. Shut up. I want a dime piece.
Guys, listen. I know that you all want to suck my chode, but like...
Oh my god. What is happening?
I was gonna have this whole big section going through each of the strikes, but I guess Bungie decided strikes don't matter in Destiny 2. There's only one strike playlist, so you can't individually choose which strike you want to play. There's no more strike-specific loot or heroic playlists or crazy modifiers like triple damage or unlimited grenades. They took out the strike scoring system, which was super fun in Destiny 1. And on top of all that, they usually give you nothing. Except some blues and some useless currency at the end of them. I guess I'll talk about them in the hope that Bungie will make them meaningful at some point in the future. And because discussing strikes is actually a perfect way to look at mission design in Destiny in general. And since mission design has always been one of Destiny's weak spots, discussing what makes it good and bad is really important. If anyone at Bungie actually sees this. It does still suck that there's almost no reason to ever play strikes, especially since they seem to have had some effort put into them this time. That's actually one of the biggest problems with Destiny 2, this lack of meaningful content, and I say actually, because it's something that Destiny 1 did so well. It had less content than Sam Stewart has brain cells, but damn, it must have done something right if I've spent more time playing it than I ever have outside. There are about 15 strikes in Destiny 1, with a bunch of them having remastered versions, but only about 3 of those strikes come even close to the quality of the strikes in Destiny 2, those being Fallen Saber, the Dawnblade, and Sepix Perfected. There are 6 strikes in Destiny 2 if you play on the console shaped like a parallelogram, and 5 if you play on the one that looks like a rectangular prism. And I'm gonna go through each of them. Cue the training montage music because it's time for some incompetent prepubescent Neanderthal to share his opinion on the internet. My least favorite strike is the inverted spire, which funnily enough is the one they put in the beta and was easily the one I played the most. And I thought that that's why I hated it, but after spending 10 hours doing the arms dealer strike trying to complete the Rat King quest, I'm still in love with that strike, so I think it's just a lack of interesting ideas. In the beta I thought it was cool how platforming was in the strike, but this is nothing compared to this. The boss fight has this neat little the floor is lava mechanic, and the clusterfuck of fanatics is cool, but overall the strike doesn't really do anything to stand out. Savathûn's song looks super cool, but it's just kinda boring. Kinda like Destiny. Its main mechanic is the whole pick up an orb and bring it somewhere thing. Bungie's definitely never done that before. Also, while having a Shrieker as a boss fight is cool in concept, an enemy that doesn't move isn't very interesting to fight, especially when the only mechanic in the fight is dunking an orb once near the end of it. Which is admittedly cool because you have to jump up close to him. But yeah, Bungie, please make new enemy types for bosses. I understand that you're trying to be consistent, but no one would complain if this fucking thing was somehow a boss battle. I don't know, it just seems a little more interesting than an enemy I've already seen for the past 3 years. Exodus Crash is similar to the Winter's Run strike in Destiny 1 in that it tries to have vehicle sections. It tries. While I'm totally up for variety, and God knows Destiny needs more of it, these sections have never really been that fun. I wish the vehicle section in this strike was more like Sparrow Racing in Destiny 1, where instead of placing the energy beacons in inconvenient locations, they place them in such a way that you could speed through them without stopping. Also, I have an addiction to flashlight sections. How come there's only like 2 in the whole game? Lake of Shadows is the PlayStation exclusive strike and is better than the other strikes I mentioned so far because it does that thing where it introduces a new mechanic that's actually fun, and it remains a constant theme throughout the whole mission. That mechanic being these black patches of goo that knock you back after they charge up. It's cool too because this is one of the boss's main attacks as well, so good job on that one, Bungo. The Pyramidion is really cool because it has 2 mechanics, both of which not only remain consistent throughout the strike, but also get expanded upon as the strike goes on, those being lasers and pressure plates. So I love the electricity room during the Fallen Saber strike because it challenged your skill at movement instead of just shooting everything. And the lasers in this strike do the exact same thing. First they sit still, then they rotate, then you have to jump over them, on your sprint through them and fall through them, and it's just great. My only gripes with the strike are that the pressure plates are admittedly kinda lame, and I wish they implemented the laser beams into the boss fight, like the electricity traps during the Fallen Sabers fight.
Sounded like a nice dunk. Dunk? Yeah, that's what we Guardians call it when we jam a radioactive fuel cell into an exhaust fan. You wouldn't understand.
My current favorite strike is the Arms Dealer. The voice lines are actually fun and clever, the arenas each feel memorable and well designed, each encounter feels specifically designed to be fun despite their lack of mechanics, and the boss really feels like he's an actual character because of the unique way he fights, with his turrets and force fields and his sniper. There aren't really any mechanics in the strike besides carrying a ball 5 feet once and then carrying balls another 5 feet during the boss fight to break his immunity shield, but that's okay. The strike proves that you don't need mechanics for something to be fun and satisfying in Destiny. I'd rather have a generic combat mission that's fun than one that tries to put unfun mechanics in just because people really like the raids. The raid. Almost everything in Destiny 2 is better than Destiny 1 at launch, but not as good as Destiny 1 now, and the raid is no exception to this. In fact, it perfectly represents Destiny 2 for being better than Destiny 1 pre-Taken King, but not as good as Destiny 1 since then. With the only raid in Destiny 2 not really being that fun, suddenly the game just feels empty. I was loving the game so much, it felt better than Destiny 1 in almost every way, but I just can't see myself playing the new raid that often, and that's a big part of why I think the endgame in general fails so much in Destiny 2. The 2 main things I think Bungie took away from the response to Wrath of the Machine, which was Destiny 1's last raid, was that the amount of communication required was a good thing, and that its striking similarities to the previous raids was a bad thing. Both of these responses were very clearly taken into account throughout the making of Leviathan, which is Destiny 2's first raid. It strays so far away from the formula and pacing of the 4 raids in Destiny 1 that even comparing it to them feels weird. There's only one boss fight, the raid has its own hub area that you return to get to each encounter, and get this, you have to repeat the door opening encounter 4 times throughout the raid. And that's one of the concepts I actually enjoy. It has a nice pacing to it, and its simplicity and familiarity allows your team to lay back and unwind after the intensity of completing the last section. What I don't like is the overall lack of fun. Almost every encounter requires communication to succeed, which is great, but it feels like most of them were designed specifically around requiring communication instead of designed to be fun. For example, the 2 people running the gauntlet have to call out to the 2 people in the arena which arrows they have to shoot, based on which layers of hoops in the gauntlet do not have a red hoop in them. It's cool how communication is required and how platforming is being infused into a raid encounter, but it just isn't fun. The platforming is easy, and for the 4 people on the inside, all you do is literally stand still, and then when the 2 people running the gauntlet say shoot the top and bottom arrows, you and the person next to you both shoot those arrows. It's just so boring and feels unfinished. Also, the bath section is literally just like the section before War Priest and King's Fall, where people have to rotate on pressure plates to go get a buff and then rotate back to their pressure plates over and over. How fun. The Pleasure Garden seems to be the most hated section, but I really like it. The people on the top have to parkour around and tell the people in the maze below them where to go to avoid being spotted by the dogs. You have to safely navigate everyone throughout the maze to get to each of the flowers, so that they can all group up and then the people on top can pop the flowers with their crystal things. And once you pop it, you get a ton of damage and then can go kill the dogs after you do it like 45 times.
All the defenses, like, combined.
He's like, here's your gift. Haha, fuck you. Just, oh guys, you guys, there's gonna be big doggies. There's gonna be big doggies.
Max spore damage. Oh, so we have to destroy like some of the plants with the prism light, I think.
Okay.
So when they were howling, I was able to sit on one of the prism weapons.
Hey, there's the boss, Morn.
I was able to sit on top of one of the bosses and shoot it with a prism weapon.
There are plants around around the room, like around the outside, that look like what you guys should be shooting with the prisms. Because we're supposed to destroy the spores, right? Is that what it says? Max spore damage. So when you guys pick up the prisms, try to find like the plants and then shoot the plants.
Is it doing anything though when you hit it?
No, it's not. Okay, alright, so here's what we know. So we know we can't get spotted by a dog. We know that two of the spores glow purple randomly, just 2 of them. And yeah, shooting it with the glowing thing doesn't do anything if it's purple. So you guys are gonna have to take the royal pawn close to it or something? I don't fucking know.
Oh, it's right there, it's right there. You have to sit up in the light, Pat. You have to go up in the light.
Just stand here for a little bit. Tell me if the beast is goodbye, look at me.
Shoot
Wait, Kevin.
Alright, there we go. That's what we gotta do.
It's really cool, but waiting for the dogs to finally turn around isn't that fun. And something that just ruins the entire feel of the encounter for me is the atmosphere. The raid takes place on a spaceship that eats planets, but instead we're stuck in this little city thing on top, which doesn't even feel like a city. The entire raid is just a trial set up by Callus to challenge you, which is why the final boss isn't actually him and instead is just a robot version of himself. I get what they were going for, but I just don't like it. I'd much rather have the dog encounter take place in a real forest instead of just a greenhouse. King's Fall was so cool because of the scale and the atmosphere, and thanks to the visuals, the music, and the complexity of the fights themselves. You were raiding an interdimensional space castle to kill a king, who has the ability to turn people into soulless slaves to help him take over the entire universe. And it really feels like it. But in Destiny 2, when you raid a spaceship that devours planets, all you actually do there is just complete some stupid-ass adventure room that this one fat-ass made in his free time. And the boss fight against Robo Callus has one interesting mechanic, where 4 scions will each have a different symbol over their head, and the 3 people left in the purple dimension will each see a different symbol over Callus's head, and whichever symbol that none of them see is the symbol of the scion that you need to kill. And that's it for the rest of the fight. You just survive. Leviathan focused too much on trying to not be like the previous raids that even the main mechanics are about doing the opposite thing of what you think you're supposed to do. Shoot the arrow if there isn't one there. Punch the scion if his symbol isn't there. Since Destiny 2's raid would have been the first for many people, I don't think anyone would have complained if they just made another traditional raid. You know, like the ones everyone loved so much in Destiny 1. I know I'm just being a bummer lately, but don't worry, I got more for you. Because the whole reason that people kept playing the raids over and over again, the loot, even that sucks. Wrath of the Machine had perfected the loot system. You were essentially guaranteed to get a weapon or an armor piece from each encounter, plus some key shards that you can combine 10 of to make a key to open one of the chests that spawned after each of the encounters to get even more loot. On top of the several exotic chests hidden throughout the raid. But in Leviathan, you could beat the entire raid and just get some boots. Oh, but you can put the Chuck E. Cheese tokens you get into some robot's asshole and actually get something. How climactic is that? You complete the Emperor's challenges that he set up on a world-eating spaceship, but then you have to actively leave the raid to go down into some dingy-ass basement to test your luck on some fucking slot machine. In Wrath of the Machine, when you turned your key shards into a chest, you actually got the loot in the raid. Oh, but don't worry. If you didn't get what you wanted, you can just get it from Hawthorne whenever someone else in your clan does the raid. How's that for climactic? Engrams, one of Destiny 1's most infuriating yet exhilarating systems, are anticlimactic too. Exotic engrams drop so frequently, but almost always give you a duplicate. So why not make them incredibly rare but unable to drop duplicates, so I can actually feel excited when opening one, instead of depressed. Just the entire loot system in general feels shallow and pointless. There's no intellect, discipline, strength, random rolls. You can reach the max level in a couple weeks without even trying. And there's only 3 things that you can do once you reach the endgame. The raid, the nightfall, and trials. The raid feels artificial and unfun, and the nightfall is boring and uninteresting. So how's trials?
What?
Wait, will it actually take us to orbit if one of us leaves?
Whoa, what the fuck is this?
Unknown space?
Ooh.
No! Wait, no, mine's gonna be the best.
Yo, that's ew!
Dude, this is awesome. Holy shit.
Dude, he's gone!
Oh, what's that?
Dude, we're doing trials every weekend.
Bungie made a lot of changes to the Crucible to make it less of a clusterfuck and into more the type of competitive multiplayer game that you'd see in esports. And while it is less infuriating, it just feels bleached. Like the rest of the game, it just feels stripped of fat and emotion. There's only 2 playlists, casual and competitive, where in Destiny 1 you could select exactly which mode you wanted to play. There were some fun ones in there too, like Rift and Mayhem, which are just entirely missing in Destiny 2. Even Trials doesn't have its own elimination game mode anymore, and instead it's just a copy and paste of the competitive playlist, except with a fixed map. Also, everything is 4v4, which on its own isn't bad, but the Crucible just lacks the ability to be fun anymore. It's all about being patient and sticking together with teammates. It sacrifices the crazy fun of Destiny 1's Crucible to become more fair, which is a mindset that the entire game is crippled by. Bungie doesn't want anyone to feel left out, so everyone gets exotics, everyone can reach the max level, everyone can succeed in the Crucible, and everyone can become legend. Yay. In Destiny 1, exotics were so rare that you felt so special when you finally got the one you were looking for, but in Destiny 2, they hand you them for completing campaign missions. Before Rise of Iron, you had to do the raid or trials to reach the max level, but now you can just reach it by grinding Crucible. Someone even reached the max level with just blues. In Destiny 1, you felt like a legend, because you had actually gone through something. Whether it was RNGesus or the difficulty of the raids, you had struggled. Hell, even the quality of the game was a struggle to endure. Destiny in general was such a poorly put together experience that it felt like whoever you met in the game felt your pain. They'd gone through the horrible story and the horrible drop rates, and they understood. Like you had both bonded from experiencing a tragedy together. Tragedies are usually experiences that you can grow from, and Destiny has definitely done that to me. 3 years after its launch, I'm such a different person and I've learned so much, and thanks to Destiny I have a group of friends that I play with almost every day now, and I don't know how I'd live without them. Destiny's quality as a game is shit, but maybe if it wasn't so good it wouldn't have been such a memorable experience. And that's what the sequel is here to prove. In Destiny 2, everything is so simple and straightforward, due to Bungie responding to complaints of Destiny 1's complications and inconveniences, that the game just doesn't have that magic anymore. Sure, Destiny 1 was irritating and sometimes infuriating, but in an effort to remove all that made Destiny 1 annoying, they also removed what made it so special. At the same time, Destiny 2 was a fun game. It kept me occupied for a few weeks, and it was a mostly enjoyable experience. Maybe I shouldn't expect Bungie to want to repeat the flaws of Destiny 1 just to make nostalgic tryhards like me happy. Alright, but then they should have at least done something special. Instead, I'm stuck with a game that is just an inferior version of the one that I've been playing for the past 2 years. At least when it comes to the endgame and the experience. And I'll probably have to wait another 3 years for Destiny 2 to actually be the Destiny I want it to be. Or maybe this marks the point where Destiny just stops trying to be this weirdly complicated shooter, and starts to be a bland and accessible one. Maybe The Taken King was Bungie's way of crying for help, and trying to tell us that Activision is turning all of them into mindless slaves in order to take over the universe. Maybe Destiny will never be the weird, convoluted, complicated, annoying, infuriating mess that I want it to be, ever again. At least I have the memories. Right before Destiny 2 came out, I considered not even making this video because I expected it to be so simple and boring to talk about. I expected it to just be Destiny 1, but a little bit better. But what I got was 1 step forwards, 1 step back. The graphics and the music are better than ever, and the story is more existent and interesting. The exploration is pretty enjoyable, even though exploration probably isn't the right word for it. And the Crucible actually feels like it had some thought put into it this time. But the mission design still isn't as good as it was in The Taken King. The endgame is just that, the end. The exotic quests and drops are so boring, the strikes are so useless they might as well not even exist. The raid feels so fake and shallow, and the loot systems for it and the entire game are so unsatisfying in general, with the only stuff anyone could possibly care for being sold for real-life money. I've gone through so many emotions with Destiny 1, but by the end of it I was confident that it would forever be one of my favorites, despite its flaws, because of all the amazing experiences I had had in it. But already its sequel has made me question all of that, because Destiny 2 is Destiny in its rawest form. Destiny 2 is a better game than Destiny 1 was at launch, but it's not as good as Destiny 1 is now. And if Destiny 3 is just going to be better than Destiny 2 was at launch, but not as good as Destiny 2 after its expansions, well, fuck, man. I hate Activision, I hate all their scummy business practices, but Destiny is my baby, and I'll support it no matter what, but now it's testing me, and I don't know if I could take this anymore. After The Taken King, I thought Destiny would just get consistently better, but there hasn't been an increase in quality that big since, and now it seems like I'll just never get those special moments again like I had in Destiny 1. I'll never meet new best friends or experience the surprise of raids, or the intrigue of exotics and their quests, or the mystery of what Destiny would even be in the first place. Destiny is so special to me, and it breaks my heart to say this, but maybe it'll never just be that special again. Maybe it was never even special to begin with. It was all just chance, unintentionally good. Maybe I'll have to wait another 3 years for Destiny 2 to actually be a good game. Or maybe my destiny lies in some other game. It just sucks so much because Bungie's my baby, and I'm just so disappointed in them right now. Destiny 2 just has so much potential. Definitely more than there was for Destiny 1 when it launched, and look how that turned out. I love Destiny right now, but Destiny 2 is just lagging behind. People say Destiny 2 is really just Destiny 1.5, but it's more like Destiny 0.9. Maybe if the feverish cycle repeats itself, in 3 years Destiny 2 will actually be what I want it to be. Then I could finally say that Bungie made me proud.
You do the fandango. Thunderbolts of lightning, very, very frightening me. Galileo, 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 Figaro, Magnifico. I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. He's just a poor boy from a poor family. Spare him his life from this monstrosity. Easy come, easy go. Will you let me go? Ishmael, no, we will not let you go. Let him go. Ishmael, we will not let you go. Let him go. Ishmael, we will not let you go. Let him go. Will not let you go. Let him go. Will not let you go. Never let him go. Oh no, 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 no. Oh mamma mia, mamma mia, mamma mia, let me go. But the devil for the side for me, for me, for me. So you think you can stone me and spit in my eye? Na-na-na. So you think you can love me and leave me to die? Oh, baby. Can you listen to me, baby? Just gotta get out. Just gotta get right out of here. Nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Nothing really matters. Nothing really matters. Me. Holy.
It's got all kinds of cool stuff in it. We think it's pretty amazing. I'm sure you're gonna tell us what you think about it too. I know. Read about it on Reddit.